Sorry. Clerk, we'll move back kidogo. Honorable Chege had asked me for an opportunity to make a personal statement. And I caution you, Sabina, if there has anything to do with your suspension or to do with the fracas that occurred here, I will stop you. I don't want any drama anymore.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, I just want to say I'm grateful that I'm back.
Yes.
I will not go into the details of how I went away out of this house, Mr. Speaker. My statement is as follows, that Tom Peters said great leaders not create followers, they create more leaders. And we must know that we are all called to speak and to inspire future leaders. This is not a statement about myself, Mr. Speaker. It's a statement about the parliamentary decorum. It's a statement about protecting the political space rightly earned by women leaders in our country. It is a statement about our girls and future generation and the image of parliament that we bequeath to them. Mr. Speaker, it's a statement about my party, Jubilee Party, and the violent mistreatment we continue to face and fight against the minority coalition. Mr. Speaker, we sit as one house of parliament to manifest the diversity of the nation, represent the will of the people, and exercise their sovereignty. For the record, Mr. Speaker, I know you are aware of physically attacked by members of this house. They even took my phone in a style that is only done by petty offenders of the streets in Nairobi. But to me, this was a well-planned and coordinated attack, Mr. Speaker. What saddened me most is not even the attackers per se, but the fact that it was planned and executed by women MPs with the help of their male counterparts. I would not wish that to happen to even my worst enemy, Mr. Speaker. This incident brought disrepute for this House and fell short of our calling as a National Assembly. Mr. Speaker, my party has continued to be intimidated in this House. But as my mother tongue, we say people only throw stones to a tree with good fruits, and by that way we expect that we will keep on fighting for the space of the Jubilee Party. I want to thank my colleagues, leaders, and the people of Kenya who have supported me during this unnecessary ordeal. I want to thank all members of Parliament for trusting and supporting the party as we deal with the unfortunate incidents. The people of Kenya look at this House for responsible leadership, Mr. Speaker. The people of Kenya often visit this House to witness parliamentary proceedings. We always have, as today, boys and girls from various schools visiting this House to witness us debates and make important decisions that will affect them today and in the future. They come here to this House to learn and to be inspired by words and our conduct. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, the people of Kenya do not expect to find chaos and violence in this House. They don't come expecting to see women leaders unleash violence on their colleagues. This is a no, Mr. Speaker. When I have spoken about Jubilee mistreatment in Azimio and the fact that our space has been consistently taken over in the most unfair and illegal manner, you now understand, Mr. Speaker. When we say Jubilee Party ought to be respected and accorded its full legal rights as the third largest parliamentary party in this House with 28 MPs, we mean exactly that. We will continue fighting and advocating for that without fear and despite the intimidation and violence. The matter of the position, Mr. Speaker, of Deputy Minority Whip is being handled by the relevant legal institutions, and therefore I would urge anybody with a contrary view to follow the law to seek for solution. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, we will all recall our national prayer breakfast, and this year's theme was reconciliation. I'm here to remind Kenyans that as your leaders, we endeavor to remain true to our national anthem, justice be our shield and defender. May we live in unity, peace, and liberty. His Excellency the President, his Deputy President, and you, Mr. Speaker, and many leaders in this House have led the way in this path of reconciliation. We can only follow suit and support this effort so that plenty may be found within our borders. Therefore, as our parliamentary organs continue with investigations of what happened on that day, I want to tell those who attacked me that I forgive them. Kenya and this House is not about us, it's about Kenyan people. The Kenyan people expect us to provide leadership without unnecessary drama and violence. Even when we differ, Mr. Speaker, on policy ideas, we must do so with decorum and respect, as reconciliation guides our path to prosperity and sustainable development for our people. Mr. Speaker, I end with the words of Martin Luther King Jr., who once said, It's time for political leaders across the ideology spectrum to realize that while partnership is understandable, hyper-partnership is destructive to our country. We need visionary leaders who will honestly strive for bipartisanship and finding policy solutions that can move the country forward. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Sabina Chege. I hope the male member sitting behind you have heard you. Next order.
Order number 9, special motion, consideration of nominee for appointment as the Principal Secretary, State Department for Performance Management and Delivery Services.
The chairperson, Departmental Committee on Administration and Internal Security.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to move that, taking into consideration the findings of Departmental Committee on Administration and Internal Security in its report on the vetting of nominee for appointment as a Principal Secretary, State Department for Performance Management and Delivery Services, laid on the table of the House on Thursday, 22nd June 2023, and pursuant to the provision of Article 155 3B of the Constitution and Section 8(1) of the Public Appointment Act 2011, this House approved the appointment of Ms. Anne Njogi Wangombe as Principal Secretary, State Department for Performance Management and Delivery Services. Mr. Speaker, His Excellency the President forwarded the clerks to the Clerk of the National Assembly the name of Ms. Njogi Wangombe, nominee for the said position, that State Department for Performance and Management Delivery Services, pursuant to Article 1553 and Section 3 and 5 of Public Appointment Act number 33 of 2021. Mr. Speaker, pursuant to Standing Order 42.1, you conveyed the message from His Excellency the President to the House in a communication dated 6th June. The name of the nominee and a curriculum vitae was forwarded to the Department Committee on Administration and Internal Security, pursuant to the provision of Standing Order 45.1, to conduct the approval hearing as required under Article 124(4)(a) of the Constitution of Kenya and Section 6 of the Public Appointment Act. Mr. Speaker, subsequently, and in accordance with the Section 6(9) of the Public Appointment Act 2021, the committee placed an advert in the print media on Thursday, 8th June, inviting the public to submit memoranda by the way of written statement and oath on the suitability or otherwise of the nominee in accordance with the public appointments. The advertisement indicated that the submission were to be received by the close of business on Friday 16th by 5 p.m. by the close of the submission deadline. The committee had not received any memoranda contesting the suitability of the candidate. The nominee was also notified of the date, time, and place for approval hearing, which the committee conducted on Wednesday, 21st. Mr. Speaker, the nominee appeared before the Committee on Administration and Internal Security as scheduled for approval hearing in accordance with the provision of the Constitution. Act 2011 on her stability or otherwise for appointment to the position said. Mr. Speaker, while conducting the approval hearing, the committee was guided by the provision of Section 6, 7, 8, and Section 7 of the Public Appointment Act 2011. In determining the suitability of the nominee, the committee focused on the nominee's academic credentials, provisional training and experience, personal integrity, and the background. Mr. Speaker, the committee had the following observation regarding the nominee: that the nominee holds a master's degree in education from the University of Nairobi, awarded in 2008, Bachelor of Education degree Arts from Kenyatta University in 1993. She further holds a diploma in Human Resource Management from Kenya Institute of Management. The nominee has a working experience of over 30 years, having worked in various positions, as a high school teacher from 1993 to 2009, a teacher trainer in 2009, part-time lecturer in Kenya Methodist University and Mount Kenya University, assistant director for human resource and administration of Kenya Medical Cambridge 2011 to 2016. Currently, the nominee is a manager of Kenya Revenue Authority staff pension scheme, where she has served from 2018 to date. She thus complies with Section 67 of the Public Appointment Act 2011 with regards to academic credentials, professional, and working experience. That during the approval hearing, Mr. Speaker, the nominee demonstrated knowledge of topical, administrative, and technical issues touching on government and has the requisite abilities, qualification, and experience to serve as a principal secretary for the said department. In accordance with Article 78(1)(2) of the Constitution, the nominee is eligible for appointment to state office since she is a Kenyan citizen and does not hold a dual citizenship. The nominee met the integrity threshold, demonstrated knowledge of topical administrative issue touching on the State Department, and has been nominated too, and has the requisite ability, academic qualification, and experience, Mr. Speaker. The nominee meets the requirement of Chapter 6 of the Constitution on leadership and integrity, having obtained the clearance from the following statutory bodies: ESCC, KRA, DCI, HELP, and ORPP. The nominee is not a member of any official of a registered political party. The nominee has never been dismissed from office under Article 75 of the Constitution for the contravention of the provision of Article 75(1), or Article 76, or Article 77, in restriction of the activity of state officers, or even Article 78(2). Mr. Speaker, having conducted the approval hearing for the nominee pursuant to this article, the committee recommends that this House approve the nomination of one Ms. Anne Njogin Wang'ombe for the appointment as the Principal Secretary for the State Department for Performance and Delivery Services. Having noted the proceeding of the Committee on Administration and Internal Security on the approval of hearing for the State Department for Performance and Delivery, I beg to move the motion and urge the House to adopt the report. So, Mr. Speaker, I've just said that the committee had a very, very interactive session. They interrogated the nominee, and I can confirm to this Honorable House that the nominee is properly fit and capable to work in the said State Department. She's actually, she has worked in several government sectors, and wherever she has worked before, she left a mark, especially when she worked as a principal in one of the secondary schools. So I urge this House to approve the nominee, and I equally ask my vice, Dida Raso, to second. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Dida Raso.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I second.
Order, honorable members. Order, Karemba. Honorable members, I now propose the question consideration the findings of the Departmental Committee on Administration and Internal Security in its report on the vetting of a nominee for appointment as Principal Secretary, State Department for Performance, Management and Delivery Services, laid on the table of the House on Thursday, 22nd June 2023, and pursuant to the provisions of Article 155(3)(b) of the Constitution and Section 81(8)(1) of the Public Appointments Parliamentary Approval Act 2011, approves the appointment of Ms. Anne Njogin Wang'ombe as Principal Secretary, State Department for Performance Management and Delivery Services. I'll pull the question, but there's a member who specifically requested that he wants to speak. Gitari. After him, I'll put the question. Korere, you want also to?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me the chance. One, I want to agree with the committee. Mr. Speaker, the Seidan Wangombe worked in Kirinyaga Central. She was teaching at Kerogoya High School. At that time, I was contemplating on running for a seat, and I can assure you that she's a very good person. After that, Mr. Speaker, Anne Wangombe went for her master's, and after the master's degree, she went to teach in a university. After that, she went to Kemri, where she worked in a very senior position, Mr. Speaker, and she left Kemri over the issues of the tussles, you know, about Kemri in Mwea. So she died for the people of Kirinyaga. That's why I thought that I should put a statement to the committee. After that, she worked in KRA. What I'm saying, Mr. Speaker, Anne Wangombe is the right person for that position, and she is a real reflection of a bottom-up I support.
Korere, you'll be the last. Yes.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, I want to support the nomination of the candidate. I happen to sit in the Committee on Security and Administration, and clearly, Speaker, the appointment of this lady to the position of PS is a real bottom-up approach, because this lady came from being a secondary school teacher, and she climbed all the way to where she is now. But having said that, Mr. Speaker, she's got quite a wealth background of knowledge. She's hardworking, and she really merits the appointment. But having said that, Mr. Speaker, I must also say, as a minority, I am a bit skeptical. And I am afraid if the kind of appointments we are seeing will continue that way, then surely the minorities cannot claim to have a stake in this government. And Mr. Speaker, I say this without fear of contradiction, because I know His Excellency the President is president today because he got votes from everywhere from this republic. And Mr. Speaker, when we are seeing main appointments going to two major communities in this country, then that leaves a lot of us with the questions. Are we really part of this country? Are our people targeted? Why are they being punished? Mr. Speaker, the other day, we passed the appointment of the governor of Central Bank in this house. And personally, I have a lot of reservations, because unless somebody proves me otherwise, it looks like for anybody to be a governor of Central Bank in this country, you must come from a particular region. And Mr. Speaker, it is very painful when our people are put on the list just to be pacemakers in the race. And Mr. Speaker, I really want to plead with the President. You know, Speaker, when I first came to this house, I was nominated by URP, courtesy of the President himself, meaning he has an eye and an ear for the minority. And as a minority, I must say, in the last 10 years of the two previous administrations, the minorities were completely forgotten. And this is the only president whom the minorities have some hope in. So, Mr. Speaker, as I support, I want to do it with a rider than the 10 years of William Samoei Ruto as the president is the only president the minorities have hope with, because the last 20 years, the minorities were completely buried in appointments in this country. And the last time the minorities saw some light in this country was during the reign of the president, the late Mzee Moi. So I know he's a very good student of Moi, and I know the minorities during his reign will have some story to tell. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Tongei.